Welcome back to the ABL review for Season 21 North Division Week 3. So, we got the full slate of battles this week, no forfeits, thank goodness. Let's hop into them. You know what? I'm recording this hastily and realized I haven't rewatched these since they posted, but let's just get into it. I know that we have kind of some blowouts here in the beginning. So we've got Zapdos doing, honestly, just a bunch of damage to Orthworm, and then, unfortunately, forgets about the Magic Bounce. We get Stealth Rocks going right back up on Logan's side of the field. He's going to attempt, I thought maybe try to spin with Bramblegast. Does he? He does. So that's good. Kind of covers that mistake, but does take a hefty amount of damage on Bramblegast to start with. And we get the same matchup we had before with Orthworm versus Zapdos. Going hard into Great Tusk. I believe Drew makes a... Oh, no, he doesn't do it here. Got the Photosynthesis popping off with Booster Energy. Logan gets really lucky and dodges a Hurricane there. I mean, I guess we'll get into more here. Like, this is something he kind of needed, but also, like, man, he... Oh, see, and he gets crit back there, so that, and confused. So maybe a little bit of justice? I don't know, hard to say. Because also Hurricane's a 30% chance to miss, yeah. So I think this is probably a wash in terms of how everything went. Yeah, so this right here, turn 9, is going to be just the problem with this battle. Alcremie, as many benefits as it has in terms of being like a pretty good Calm Mind setup Pokemon, because of its ability, if I remember correctly, yes, Sweet Veil or Aroma Veil, can't remember which one, I think it's Aroma Veil, can't be taunted, which is actually huge for a Pokemon like this, because that's one of the ways you tend to shut these Pokemon down. It can't get past Heatran. Heatran's like the ultimate fairy killer. This would have been... This, I think, is probably where Logan realized, hey, Magneton would have been super cool, because you could trap Heatran, get it off the field, and then Alcremie has a pretty nice time trying to get past the rest of this team. But every time Alcremie comes in, it's a big momentum loss for Logan, because can't really do any damage. He's got a hard switch. He's going to sack, or he's going to, try to keep the hazards away, but he's going to have to sack Bramblegast here to do it. And it's going to be hard for him to gain any sort of traction, even with the Great Tusk coming in here. Because he tries to pull a double switch to catch the Zapdos. I think that's a good play. Unfortunately, doesn't get it right. Get a superpower on the Zarude. Very rough. I think that's obviously like he's predicting Ivy Cudgel to come out. Didn't work out. Follow-up superpower. Orthworm's going to have to go down here. Logan's entire team is just getting super worn out. Actually, I'm really surprised that... I mean, okay, so let's break that play down. I think Drew decided not to take the KO there because it would have given something else an opportunity to kind of make some headway. Like, if you go -3 with Ogerpon, then maybe it gives something like Rotom an opportunity to like set up a nasty plot or something and maybe get out of hand. Hard to say for sure, but I figured he would have taken it there. I guess he's more focused on, he doesn't want to, because Superpower here would have done... what, the third less than this, so maybe, what's a third of that? 12-ish, 13. Would have done around 30%. Yeah, I guess that's not worth the roll here. Actually, well, he got leftovers back after that. He probably was in range. It might have been a roll, but he just wants to make sure he can prevent hazards, so he's going to go ahead and go into Espeon here. Easy force out, Draining Kiss. Espeon's even going to get a little bit more healthy. That's huge for it. And you see that this is going to come right in again here. Sword Power, obviously not the thing to go for there. Draining Kiss, even though it would have done shit, would have been equally bad damage. Like, misclick, don't come for me in the podcast. I'm going to come for you in the podcast because there's no move for you to go for there that would have been good. You don't have a ground move. You don't have a fighting move. Like, unless you meant to misclick switching into another Pokemon, and that's why and then you went for Stored Power, I don't know. That's all I see going on here. But Drew's going to get up hazards of his own here, which is really going to slow Logan down. He's also going to get rid of Orthworm, so he's won the hazard battle. Great Tusk here. I guess you're hoping that it has Rapid Spin. No, not gonna happen. Good prediction, catching the Zapdos. Unfortunately, gets punished with a Static Para. And now he's going to actually succumb to the Hurricane here. He's going to go down to the hazards there. Also, this is obviously not Heavy Duty Boots. Rotom is going to pick up a KO to avoid the 6-0, with Rotom. Now, yeah, he's going to go here. He needs a freeze for him to have any opportunity to get anything done. Heavy Slam from Heatran, not something you see too often, is going to pick up the KO there. And Alcremie going to do the same thing. Yeah, I think if he had gotten like a freeze on Heatran, then maybe like he'd have to set up like a million fucking Calm Minds with Alcremie to get past anything. Kind of too little too late. Because the Heavy Slam is also a really good bring. I want to shout that out because it's going to allow it, even if Alcremie does set up a bunch, it doesn't have to rely on Flash Cannon to try to crit. It can just KO, which you saw right here. I think really good prep by Drew here. Yeah, this is... Logan really just never got a footing here. I think he just kind of planned for the wrong things and really burned him here. Is Drew the one who last week brought the... Oh, I didn't reframe anything for that. I'll get it for the next one, guys. Drew the one who last week brought Dusclops. Yeah, Drew's been really pulling out like a lot of interesting tricks for team building this season. And I hope to see more from him. So that's really exciting. Good job to Drew. Get another big win there. Logan, not a great performance out of him. But, you know, that's the way it goes sometimes. So we can move on to the next battle. So next here, we've got Brett taking on Jabron. You can see from Team Preview here that the Overquill has a fantastic matchup once that Donphan's gone. Super effective hits on 3 of the Pokemon. A tight matchup versus... nothing really has a great type-up match against it, with the exception of the Donphan. You know, it's nothing else is really super apparent, I feel, here from Team Preview. We see the Blood Moon didn't make it, and also the Rillaboom not here from Brett's side of the field. And I think that probably makes sense, just given the matchup. I don't think Rillaboom does a lot, and Blood Moon can always kind of have a matchup. It's just the way that Pokemon's built. Actually, like, look at this. If you ran the Curtis set and did, like, Specs Blood Moon, that's the Moon move, right? Ursaluna Blood Moon uses the move Blood Moon. Yeah, Specs Blood Moon just kind of gets a KO here. So we could have gone that route. Ended up going this route instead with kind of like, you know, the B teamed, if I'm being totally honest. And really has a good showing here. So we're going to lead off with Donphan trying to get up rocks and getting Scald burned right off the bat. That's big. Like the only way for him to potentially bring it back up is the Sylveon being able to pass a wish, and that's going to be hard. His Donphan is basically done for. Brett's going to take the real, you know, subdued approach and just chilly reception out, go up into Probopass. You know, it's going to chew a Hydro Pump there, but it can kind of afford to, and he's able to get Beartick in really, really safely here. We're going to see the Terra Blast Grass be able to pick up the KO. I don't know the calcs. I don't know if the crit mattered. He was, like, if he had it, he probably was going for Will-O-Wisp there, but now doesn't have to worry about it because he got crit. So that's a rough thing to have happen here, because now the Pokemon you're down to are Glastrier, which, to be fair, isn't bad in this matchup, but it can kind of really easily be taken out. And then 3 Poison Weak Mons. It's going to be a tough play here for Jabron. He's falling behind quick here. So we do have the Slowking come out here as we get Terra Ice Glacier. Avalanche is not doing much damage. Good call there, bringing that in on like the now Grass type. Something to note here is now Brett doesn't have to worry about, I don't know if Arboliva had the Terra designation on it, but doesn't have to worry about that changing type. I think that's a big benefit. Like, once Terras are out, it becomes basically just like a regular like Gen 7 game. Actually, no, Gen 8, since we didn't have any funny gimmicks. So I think that's really a big benefit, like if the Terras get out early. Because then it just kind of becomes a straight up play here. Arboliva going to set up the Seed Sower, not get Scald burnt there. I don't know if that would have mattered a ton, but good move by Brett bringing in the Talonflame. Arboliva is also going to take a little bit of that, what's that word? The Future Sight. Oh, interesting thing here. Okay, so I didn't know this. I mean, I think if this was like a trivia question, I might have guessed this was the case. But you see, Talonflame U-turns the Glastrier and then brings in the Slowking. My understanding of the mechanic was Avalanche's power is doubled if it is attacked that turn. Turns out that's not the case. We're going to wait a turn after we see a future sight high horsepower thing. And then we're going to get a Scald thrown off here. It doesn't get the burn. But what we are going to see is an Avalanche come out and now do 36%. So this is the thing I didn't know about. Apparently you only get the double damage if the Pokemon that dealt damage to you is the one that takes the hit. I don't know that that's like a usable thing in most cases, but I thought it was really interesting. Yeah. So Slowking really has to switch out here, get that Regenerator. Probopass is essentially useless at this point, just going to be used for getting a little bit of chip damage here. So another Volt Switch on Arboliva, get the matchup with Talonflame. Jabron kind of gains a little bit of momentum back by staying in and just chewing the U-turn here. He's going to be able to get an attack off, and it's the Alluring Force, so you got to chip that Overquill, you got to keep that down. But now look at this matchup. Donphan is going to easily get 2-hit KO'd by Overquill. Everything else is weak to Poison. Glacier probably also 2-hit KO'd by Overquill at this point. This is basically a free KO for Brett here. And he recognizes that, and he's going to take the Arboliva down. Smart by Jabron not to switch there, but he's running way far behind. Surprisingly good damage, I feel like, from that Avalanche. Like, I just neutral hit, but also, like, Glacier is a pretty strong Pokemon, and it's Terran, so I guess that makes sense. Brett's going to take that opportunity to get these late game rocks up. It's kind of too late here for Jabron. I don't think there's really much he can do. Doesn't get burned there, so he's able to get off a little bit more damage on the Slowking, but still going to end up going down. Slowking's going to be able to regen back, so it's not going to matter too much. Jabron is going to manage to get rid of those rocks late game, but also at this point, I still don't think it matters. Just looking at these matchups, there's not much you can do. We get another late game crit. Don't know if that mattered, but it does just kind of seal things for Brett pretty nicely. Barbarage is also going to get the poison here. So Sylveon has got, as Vince McMahon would say, no chance in hell. Really thorough handling of Jabron from Brett here. Jabron never really got a foothold. It's hard to say exactly what the problem was. I really think like the Donphan may have been played a bit too aggressively early, because I think Donphan has a pretty nice matchup here if it's not burned. But it's just not to be. So Brett picks up another win there, and we can move on to our next game. Next up, we have Dakota taking on Zach. Okay, so I have some thoughts about this game that we can get into pretty quick, because I did know some of Dakota's sets going into it, and one of them I didn't agree with, and it kind of shows why here. So, and this isn't to bag on Dakota, but I just like, it's a decision-making thing that I learned in, I think it was in the first Iron Sheik, that I really ended up like taking a lot from. So we'll talk about it in a little bit. It's more of a philosophical thing, not a specific play. So we got the Weezing versus, and here it is. We got the Weezing versus the Raging Bolt, turn 1. We saw how dangerous this Raging Bolt is last week versus Brett. And trying to make the, safest possible play. We see the Bronzong come out, and Draco Meteor goes off. Doesn't do too much damage, but does activate this eject button and force the Bronzong out. I think based on that, based on that, we don't really get a lot of information. He can probably tell he's not Scarf from that damage, but is going to go into Primarina here. Now, so the game plan here was, because of the sand in the speed tier of Zach's team, Dakota's plan was to set up Trick Room, go min speed Primarina, and be able to outslow and really put in the work against Brett's team, which I don't disagree with from that perspective. Fairy and Water does really well, and also just having Ice Beam tacked down does really well against this team. The issue I had was the eject button. Now, Dakota's plan was have Bronzong in, force a switch, so that way he could get up Trick Room, and then he could do something with Bronzong and then Bronzong get hit, which gives him a very slow, which activates the eject button, which gives him a switch into Primarina, and then we can get some work done. That's the idea. So here's the issues with that, and then we'll go into the lesson that's to be learned. The biggest thing is that Bronzong doesn't force a lot of switches. The only thing that it can really potentially force a switch on is Monkey Dory. If Monkey Dory is locked into either a psychic move or a poison move, it'll probably switch. Literally nothing on the rest of this team is scared out by Bronzong. I guess let's pull up Zach's full team, which is right there. Good. Maybe it forces out Tinkaton. Serena would probably U-turn out. Sand Slash, that might actually force a switch there if it doesn't have knockoff. Munchlax will never be coming to a game, and Charizard doesn't force out. So I don't think there's a high enough percentage chance that you're going to be forcing stuff out there. Now, the lesson to be learned here, I gotta adjust the screen a little bit here. It looks a little wonky. I think the lesson to be learned here, which I learned in the Iron Sheik, was like you get these matchups in your head. You really need to figure out when, like the idea of I'm gonna set up Trick Room and then get eject buttoned out. That's really good on paper, but you just have to find the match flow that's gonna get you there. You have to create those opportunities. You have to look at your opponent's team and be like, is this play that I want going to happen? What do I have to do to make it happen? I had a plan where it's just been, I think I needed to get rid of a Girder, and I had like this Pokemon beats Girder. It can switch in really safely and get these opportunities to do X and Y. It's perfect. But nothing else on my team forced in Girder. So I ended up just like, that game plan never came to fruition. And I think that's what happened here is Dakota had an idea for what his game plan was going to be, but he didn't have the tools to force that game state. And after that happens, his Trick Room setter, like he's lost turns on the Trick Room set, right? And so he can now set up Trick Room and then hard switch, but now you don't have that safe switch into Primarina. And he was also, and we'll see it here for a second, he gets unfortunately crit on the Volt Switch. This is -2, and it's Wakanberry. So this, if it hadn't crit, would have done like, I don't know, 10% damage. Would have been done so hilariously little. Because let's see, the crit. Okay, so let's see, on a crit, it would have done 100%, right? But take away the crit, it's going to do 66%, but it is... Okay, so because I'm ignoring the Wakanberry for the time being. So that means on a crit, or without the crit, it would have done 66%, but it's at -2, so it would have done 33%, and it's Wakanberry, so it would have done about 15 to 18%, let's say. Yeah, that's a big loss there, because this would have done so little, and you would have had Primarina at such better health. And now your Trick Room setter, your Trick Room abuser, the only one you have on your team, is now severely weakened. He was also Wakanberry to avoid like Thunderclap from this thing, which I think makes perfect sense. So now you're behind the 8-ball, and just to add insult to injury, miss the Hydro Pump on this Torrent T, which probably would have done around 50% if this thing's not AV or something. Knockoff, not going to get rid of an item. Kind of giving him a gift there. Is what Zach did. Knocked off a fairy type that had already lost their item. So this is a play that I don't know how I feel about. It's kind of interesting because it's got its positives and negatives. So we got Weezing coming in on the Ceaseless Edge, hurting him with the Rocky Helmet. That's good, but now the Ceaseless Edge is going to set up that spike, which Primarina is only at 2%. You have no hazard clearing on the field, or on the team. So now you're in kind of a rough shape there. No hazard clearing from either of these guys. Something interesting to note there. But yeah, this Primarina is essentially dead now. But I think Dakota uses it pretty well here. Unfortunately, Monkey Dory takes the Toxic there. There's this whole thing that goes on. Pain Split doesn't really get him any HP back. So I like the play Dakota makes here where he goes hard pre-Marina, because what that does is if he had gone for Cecil's Edge, it actually blocks the Cecil's Edge so another spike can't go up. I really like that play. But based on the way Zach's playing, this feels to me like this is probably either... How much did that Cecil's Edge do? Yeah, it's probably Scarf. There's probably a Scarf Hisuian Samurott. Which Cleavor comes out, we're going to get a U-turn, which crit might have mattered, might not have, but this is probably also Scarf Cleavor, which we've seen Dakota have a big affinity for. So Dakota's kind of back in this game, but he just still has a hard time finding a way to beat Raging Bolt, because we've seen another Draco Meteor come out. It's a little bit surprising to me that he hasn't been going Bronzong to deal with that more. Oh, I need to take it back a turn, actually. Like at that point, Bronzong's big trick is kind of done. So something else to consider here. So we've got Cleavor, which is at 88%. So we've seen that hit the field. When it comes back in, we know it's going to take more hazard damage. It's going to go down to 76%. The Wheezing, also already damaged. Bronzong, already damaged. So that means Zoroark can only successfully conceal itself as Roaring Moon. So that means if Roaring Moon comes in, it's going to take hazard damage. You won't know if it's actually Roaring Moon or Hisuian Zoroark for, a second. But anything else that comes in at full health that isn't Roaring Moon means it's Hisuian Zoroark. So he's found himself in that position where it's going to be very hard to trick Zach. Something we were watching out for when he was playing live. We'll see how it pans out here. So, as we saw, Zach's going to get the KO with the Draco Meteor, and we're going to see Cleavor come in at full health and take the spikes damage. So now, Brett knows, or not Brett, sorry, Zach. I might have been conflating the two in the past because they're both just elite level players, so I'm sorry if I did that. So Zach knows that this is, in fact, a Hisuian Zoroark. And the other reason you can tell is because of how he plays it here. He's going to go hard into Tyranitar. Tyranitar doesn't really beat Roaring Moon 1v1. It's probably his best check for it at this point. But he knows that this is a very safe switch into the Hisuian Zoroark. See the Shadow Ball come out there, thus confirming it. And we get a knockoff, double knockoff, boom. The Bronzong goes down. At this point, he's in a tough spot. So we're gonna see the Cleavor come back out. Except it's not the Cleavor, because we saw it come in at, 86% or whatever, something like that. It's not where it should be if it was actually Cleavor. So we're going to see it come in. So Dakota is either betting that he's going to trick Zach, or because he goes for a Focus Blast here. I want to calc that, okay? And this isn't... I'm just curious about that play. I'm going to pull it up here on the side, so you're just going to have to listen to me slowly clickety-clack away here as I figure this out, because Sand was still up. This Tyranitar is quite offensive, so I'm going to just do the choice. We're just going to go no bulk T-Tar in the Sand versus Zoroark, Hisui, choice specs, Focus Blast. Okay, yeah, guaranteed KO. The problem with that play is, well, it's the only play that could KO Tyranitar from that range, but also it was going to be eaten up by, Monkey Dory takes 0 damage, and obviously we have the Houndstone coming in here. So, good read by Zach. Now we can see the actual Cleavor come in. Choice Banded, now Terra Fairy play rough. It's going to pick up the KO there. Dakota's endgame is bleak, to say the least. If he had Iron Head, which I don't think he did. I think we talked about it and he didn't. Would probably be to try to flinch this down now that he's going to be faster because Sand is down, or bank off the 10% miss and get a Dragon Dance up. And he does, in fact, go for the Dragon Dance, but he's going to get hit by that play rough, and it's all over from this point. There's no move that Hisuian Zoroark can lock itself into that's going to be able to deal with it. Then also we find out we have a Scarf T-Tar just to clean up anyways. So, well done to Zach. Really just had perfect control over that match the whole way. I don't think Dakota played bad. it's just a game plan thing. Sometimes you get laser focused on an idea and you don't see the bigger picture. I think that's what happened. But again, I don't think he made any like really bad plays. I think it might have just been a game plan problem. But now I think we can move on to our marquee match of the week.
Marquee match of the week. Now we have a theme.
So our marquee match of the week is, I'm not going to review it. We're just going to jump right into it. And we're just going to kind of give live thoughts. I think I might have watched this, but we're going to go a little slower here. So we got Azelf leading off against Hisuian Electrode. Looks like Kyle's trying to stop the rocks from going up and does successfully do so. Volt Switch, that did a lot of damage actually. I've seen Ice Punch come out on Annihilate. That's a big start right there. Because now Rage Fist is at 100 base power. Pretty much no drawback to click it now at this point. And there's not a lot of good answers that Curtis has to Annihilate. So we're going to see the Rage Fist come out, do a decent amount of damage. Ooh, Rocky Helmet, unfortunate for him. So we're going to get hard into the Iron Treads, going to get the Quark Drive attack boost, not something you see typically from it, and goes down hard to a Hydro Steam. The thing you typically see from Iron Treads is booster energy to get the speed boost. Would have been a lot better off here. But it doesn't look like Kyle has good switch-ins to Walking Wake anyway, so I kind of don't blame him for letting the Iron Treads go down. Doesn't do a lot in this matchup, at least in my opinion, so I don't hate that play. Soon Electrode's going to come out here and throw off a Thunder Wave. I like that play a lot. Mach Punch, going to do a pretty good amount of damage if we're being honest with everyone. Probably Technician boosted. Ooh, does get full parried there. Moonblast doesn't KO, so I'm guessing this is like AV Technician, because I think that would have KO'd from Enamorous. Ooh, and that is a Scarfed Enamorous. Big pull there. This puts Kyle in a really good spot. I don't really know how he gets out of this because there's no more fairy resists on his team. I guess your play here is also be Scarf and hit triple axles, right? Okay, double switch into Rhyperior. Not going to be too KO'd, so it would have been better to go into Rhyperior first and just go ahead and do whatever you're going to do because you'd have a lot more HP. Forces in the Farigiraf. This is doing pretty good damage. This is going to be... Oh, okay, he's not... I've gotten so used to loaded dice on multi-hit moves, I just assume something's going to hit 4 to 5 times. We see a lot of it this week of loaded dice mons. So, unfortunately, it only gets 2 hits. Farigiraf's going to come in. I don't know what Farigiraf has to deal with it. Oh, wow, that does a pretty good amount of damage. So, it's going to be hard for... oh, boy. So, it's going to be hard for Farigiraf to pass a wish to anything. I'd love to, for Kyle's sake, just because it'd be pretty cool, if you can get a wish up and then go into Annihilate. Annihilate, if it takes multiple hits from Rock Blast, that will actually boost Rage Fist further. If he had gone and hard into it on that turn and gotten hit like 3 times, then Rage Fist goes up to a 250 base power move. I don't think there's much standing in the way of it at that point. So the Future Sight's going to come out. See the Hisuian Electrode come in. Not what Curtis wanted to see come out. Oh, okay, maybe it is what we wanted to see it come out. It is going to be Leech Seed, which is probably going to give this Annihilate a couple more opportunities to do stuff. See a Bulk Up come out. I'm guessing Bulk Up Taunt, maybe? Ooh, doesn't have to worry about that. I forgot about the Future Sight. It always gets you. Flower Trick doing a pretty good amount of damage. Yep. Drain Punch, going to get a good amount back. But Annihilate obviously can't stay in. Easy Iron Moth play. That makes a lot of sense. This is probably going to do... Okay. Did less than I thought. Just Iron Moth has such bad defense. Kind of thought I'd do a little bit more. Iron Moth not going to get the stat increase there. Substitute. You saw Rock Blast. Kyle, this is a bad play. That doesn't make any sense. Unless you have like literally no other moves to hit it with, I don't like that play. Namor's going to come in. Healing Wish, obviously going to bring Annihilate back up to full HP. I don't know what else he had on it. If he had Earth Power or even Moonblast would have done, like, it would have been a 2-hit KO for it. The Annihilate's going to come back. He's going to try to bulk up again, I guess, but it doesn't put him in a good spot versus Meowscarada. Oh, and we see the Dragon Tail come out. Okay, I do know the outcome of this game. I'm just kind of surprised at how Kyle's playing this. I guess he's playing from the bottom here, right? I think he just needed to try to get drain punches off and kind of keep the Annihilate healthy and use Enamorus where he could. I think Enamorus has way more value here as a Scarf Moonblaster here late in this game. I think you need to get damage off on Rhyperior and then just go Scarf Moonblast on Enamorus. Would have been awesome. We don't see that happen here. Gonna throw up another Wish. I think this is probably where he needs to try to go hard into Annihilate. Yes, he does. He's going to take that, get back up to a good amount of HP. That's just boosting that that Rage Fist more. He's going to try to stay ahead of the curve here. Another Dragon Tail out. That's boosting Rage Fist up so much. I don't know what he's at now. Hold on, let's real quick find out. Control, what is, so Ape lost. He's taken 5 hits. So he's taken 5 hits. So Rage Fist is now to 300 base power move. I think that's probably Kyle's best game plan here. But at the same time, he's going to have a hard time getting around Azelf. Another Wish goes up, Earthquake comes out. So now I think you go into Annihilate. You might bulk up once, take the hit pretty well, recover with, yeah. So now this is a 350 base power, plus 1 Drain Punch. Oh, okay, plus 2 Drain Punch. He can't be Dragon Tailed out now. This probably isn't a bad play. Rage Fist, I keep saying Drain Punch. This is 400 base power. You just got to live hits here. This is crazy to me. So he must not have Psychic. That's the only explanation. Doesn't have Psychic. He's got to try to buy some turns here. Rage Fist is going to KO that easily. Going to be able to crit through with this, and he needs a full para here anyways. That's not going to be enough. So Kyle ends up coming back here. Good game plan, I guess, to late in the game get those Rage Fists up, but it was severely banking on the idea that Azelf didn't have a Psychic move, which I guess you play to your outs, right? I don't, kind of a rough late game there. Like I said, I think Kyle would have been better off going for Moonblast with Enamorus in the late game. Had a much better matchup than trying to rely on Annihilate. But Annihilate able to really bail him out there with a 400 base power Rage Fist, assuming I counted right. Yeah, well done. Well done, Kyle there. And did we see an item from him? He could have potentially been that Psychic Berry. I want to say that one is Payapa Berry. Maybe that was the game plan there because he wasn't Protective Pads. Could have been Chesto Berry or something. I don't know. Kyle, let me know what your item was, because that's if it was Payapa Berry, I think it's a great late game plan. But if it was anything else, I don't. I think you. I mean, I guess you're playing to your outs, right? That's what you're doing. So yeah, that's gonna wrap that up. Let's hop over to actually not a lot to talk about over in the north here because we didn't have any for the second week in a row. No ad drops. So everything's still the same. If you watched the South already, I'm still waiting to put in Terras until I finish recording this, and then I'm going to record a little thing on that. Actually, I probably don't need to do it. Some people's Terras will have changed. You'll see that, I guess, right? I guess in that case, we can take a look at the standings right now. So Zach, undefeated, and then we have a couple of teams chasing him at 2-1. But look, you just need to get wins and have a shot at the playoffs, right? Expanded playoffs this time just because of scheduling wackiness. Because somebody decided, hey, I'm not going to come back and play in the North and make it nice even numbers. Obviously we're blaming Josh for that. It's probably Josh's fault in some way. So yeah, here we are. Zach's in a great spot. Got good tiebreakers already. And Jabron really fallen behind here. Not something we see from Jabron. Jabron's had really good play the past few seasons, but he's fallen behind here and he needs to start getting wins. I mean, like 2 wins will probably give you a shot at the playoffs just based on, how things are going. Like just get 2 or 3 wins, you're still in the playoff contention. You're not out of this yet by any stretch. Also, he's had hard matchups here. He had Dakota, which is a game I'm sure he'd like back, just based on Dakota's has struggled in the North. No knock on Dakota there. But then he's also had Brett and Zach, so tough games there. But definitely has opportunities through the rest of the season to really make it back up there. Drew, we see him doing well. That's really exciting. Drew's really impressed me with what he's done past few seasons. Kind of coming, he still feels like kind of a newer guy because this is his third, fourth season. So we like seeing that. Looking forward to next week. We've got Kyle versus Brett. Kyle really needs to get that to try to get a hold of that game. Drew and Zach, top 2 teams in the league right now. That's really exciting. Logan versus Dakota, classic ABL matchup. Curtis versus Jabron. Basically, right as of right now, the 2 cellar dwellers in the north. Going to be really interesting to see who comes away with that. Jabron really needs it. Curtis is going to give him a little bit of a cushion if he can get the win out of that. Yeah, we'll see how it goes, but that could end up being a very important game come late in the season. I think that's going to wrap it up for the North here. Thank you guys for listening. Am I still recording? Oh, fuck me sideways. I looked away from the Google Sheet for a second. You can see all this stuff. You guys, I described it enough that you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Stupid. Anyways, thank you all for listening to this very professional, very technically proficient podcast. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.